Hi, everybody. It's Rhoda from Cigar City Tarot. Welcome to day 18 of Ethony's 31 Days of Tarot Challenge. Today, we're going to take a look at which decks give me the most insight from their imagery and symbolism. So I've got 4 decks here. A couple of them we talked about earlier on, but I thought I'd go, oopsie, hitting my table a little too hard. Thought I'd go on and take a look at them just for some of the imagery and talk about which ones I like the most. So let's get started. I think I'm going to put these away and just talk about one of them each at a time. So this is my Halloween tarot. I love this deck. I use it at Halloween, obviously, but I think it's such a cute deck to use anytime, right? And so as I go through, even though the my deck's over here, even though the ghosts are cups, right? And they're here. It's so close to the Rider-Waite Smith. I use this. I love it at Halloween because it, people can relate. Although I've used it outside of Halloween, and I think it gives a good read too. I'm just going to do these as I think most of these are, well, they're upside, they're both. So I'll turn them around. So these are the ghost, and this is the 9 of ghost, but the imagery in them, like this one is the moon, right? And so you see the werewolf and he's howling to the moon. To me, he wants to get back to his place. Depending on the reading, here's the little crayfish up here. He cracks me up. He wants to get back to the man that he was, and he's finding it hard to get back up to, he's been knocked down off of his castle. And being a werewolf is out of his control and whatnot. And sometimes it feels like that when the moon is crazy, like, when things are nutty and crazy. I'm actually recording this the night of the full moon on the 17th, so that I can post it up tomorrow at 6. And so things may seem a little crazy and scary. The imps are all about the wands, and so the imagery here is still very similar, but it's and by the way, I noticed this and I saw somebody else point it out, but each of these tarot suits, right? So you have the imps, the ghosts, the pumpkins for the coins, and the bats for the swords. Each one of them has the cat in here and the little kitty from the deck itself, and his eye colors change. So here he has red eyes. This is a major arcana. Here he has kind of reddish eyes. Let me see if you can see him better. Where is he? The ghost. Oh yeah, he's got red eyes, and look at his ears, look like little devils. Like he's a little impish kind of a guy. Here in the pumpkins, which are the coins, he has yellow eyes. Oh, he is in the majors. Here he is with the empress and whatnot. And then here's the swords, right? So I said the swords are balls to the walls, kind of a feeling. And look at, he's going in the clouds, and and he's off, and there's a little kitty watching him. This one I love. It's kind of, I think this is a cute card, even though the 9 of Swords is typically a really sad card and you're going through anxiety or whatnot. It still gives you the feeling that there's just a lot. I mean, the imagery to me, if you think about the Pamela Coleman Smith deck, it's just got the swords lined up, right? And this person can't sleep. But in this one, look at the imagery here. The sun is coming up. The sun will come up tomorrow. I think of the Annie song, the sun will come up tomorrow. Well, I don't sing well, so you don't want to hear me. But the bats in this one represent everything that's swirling around in this person's head, right? So she has just, she can't sleep. Obviously, she's got anxiety. But it's the swirl. You can't relax your mind. If I got this in a reading, I'd say you really need to start meditating, right? This is quieting the mind. And look at her, poor cat's trying to help. But anyway, let me see. Oh, here are the imps. So the imps, I think I said, were all about the wands or the battens, depending on what you call them. But you see the imagery now. What's different about this is they're all little devils in red. So they don't have the different, where in many other decks, The Five of Swords or the Five of Wands represents, you know, different people fighting. It could be different factions. It could be different religious sects, could be different tribes, groups, whatever. And the cat's in there. So, and look at the moon looking down on them. You know, it's like very symbolic. This is the Four of Swords. And again, very similar to the Rider-Waite, but so sad. Look at the kitty. He's mourning the loss of his person, right? So anyway, so the imagery in this one, I think, is, although quirky, in some ways it gives you a little bit more emotion than maybe Pam's deck does. I love the Hierophant, yeah. He's gone off, he's unraveling, right? So he needs to go off and find himself before he unravels completely down to a skeleton. And the King of Pumpkins, you know, so, whoops. And here's the devil, right? And she's the she-devil and whatnot, but just a ton of stuff going on in the back that you don't see. This is the Hermit. Wait, what did I say this guy was? Oh, the Hierophant. I'm sorry, I said the Hermit on that one. And here's the Hermit, right? So the mad scientist. He only wants to be with himself in this crazy thing. Here's the Ace of Imps, and it's like, you know, it's telling you. So the Ace of Imps is, you know, wands, and it's like you're, you know, yanking your tail. What did my mom used to say? It's like, you know, yanking you by the tail to wake up. So anyway, I think that this is a very good deck in terms of helping me think about different things in a different way. So that is the Halloween Tarot. The next one I've talked earlier in an earlier video about the Llewellyn Tarot. I love this deck. Oh, this is one that has, and what is it? I talked about this. It is the moon. I love this. So it's my little tile that tells me what deck this is, because I never remember what tarot I put them in. But I think in this one, what I love about this deck is the imagery as well. Very, you know, King Arthur feeling. And like, look at this one. This is the Three of Wands, right? And you see these beautiful women after the harvest. If you're into paganism and whatnot, you know, the three witches, you know, on the full moon, you know, making a covenant, or, you know, celebrating the coming of the harvest. It just is so, and look at the colors are very rich and whatnot, and the backgrounds. I just love all of you could just imagine that the moon is bright and shines down on them and whatnot. So, and then the lush, you know, the lush grass. This is the Knight of Pentacles, and, you know, much like in the Rider-Waite Smith, he's been standing so long. He's the slowest knight of them all. He's grown an oak in his head there, right? But if you take a look at the background, you know, you've got, it looks like it's the sun is setting. It's very hard to see in this lighting, but the sun is setting. And you've got, it looks like he's almost in an arena or outside the walls of the castle here, right? Or a fortress where he's coming and he's bearing a gift or money to let him in. And it's just a very, very, to me, it's just a rich deck in colors. Let me see. Oh, here's a good one. So this is the Six of Wands, right? And you have your laurel there. He doesn't have it on his head. He has it up there. It's almost saying, you know, the reluctant victor, right? You know, the spoils of war, you know, and then you can see people in the background. So I find this deck, I love the King of Cups. It's Neptune, and very fiery, even though the King of Cups is very emotional. You can see the waves in the background crashing and whatnot, that especially if you look at him in reversed, you know, he could have a fiery temper and, you know, be out of control. But you have fish jumping here. It's a very active card. You know, he's just sitting back, enjoying it, just very active. He's got his fish where he puts his hand or his arm right there. Anyway, I find the Llewellyn deck just very, the colors, the Three of Wands, you know, again, standing on the shore. And this, more so than Pam's, these ships are very distinct, and Pam's are little teeny tiny, and you have to kind of figure, are they going out or my ship is coming in? I've always learned that the Three of Wands was more about, where the Two of Wands is about planning. This is about releasing your plans and putting them forth into the universe, right? And so these ships are headed out to sea. Anyway, just very imagery. Let me see if there's any other one that strikes me. Let me see. Oh, yes, the Chariot. I love the Chariot. This is one of my favorite cards in this deck, besides the Moon, obviously. But if I take a look at the Chariot, look at the horse. It's a wave. I mean, this is almost like Neptune riding in, you know, and it's the force of nature and the force of water. Look down here. You've got the other horse that he's going in it. They've almost got, instead of, they've got like webbed feet and whatnot. So just, to me, this speaks of tumultuous, you know, signs ahead that this guy is pushing through, and, you know, the waves crashing up on the shore. But anyway, oh yes, the Lovers. The Lovers. And you have Raphael or Gabriel, one of them in the background looking at them. But just, why is this? There we go. Anyway, so that is the Llewellyn deck. To me, the Magician, I should stop and move on to my other one. But look at that on his stone altar. You know, he's positioned himself above those around him by walking up these stairs, right? And he has all of his tools, and the force of nature is very strong in this card, and the purple just speaks of majesty and position in society of that time. Anyway, that is the Llewellyn. Love this deck. I do wish that the cards were bigger and there was less, so that you had more of the imagery, or, you know, they were less border, right? Not borderless, but certainly less of a border. I'll save my best for last. So this is the Santa Muerte deck. We talked about this in an early on video, but I love this deck. The imagery in this deck is very morbid, I'll say, but for a visceral reaction, you really want to get at the heart of, you know, certain, I don't know, certain questions. Like, I think I talked about, this is the Death card, right? Look at that card. You know, where death before is on a horse, and it's almost like the Grim Reaper. To me, this speaks more to what death is. Oh, that's right. We talked about this in How Could I Put a Good Spin on Death? But this death is pregnant. She's waiting to fill the crib here, or the cradle there. It's empty. And in whether she lost a baby recently, but is ready to give birth again, even though she's got her size here, and you know, and she may be going out to collect souls after they've gone, she still has hope, and she's still looking that as you let one thing go, another is going to take its place. I just love that imagery. It's not in any of the other cards that speaks to me like that. This is the Two of Swords, and all I want to say is cut that shit out. I mean, it's scissors, right? And the swords are typically about, you know, crossroads, or some people say crossroads, others say you cannot pass, you cannot enter. To me, it's like, cut this shit out before you move on. So it's just something as simple. Now, I also sew, and scissors have been a part of my life for a really long time. And so you really need them in order to figure things out, right? It's kind of hard to cut material and figure out a pattern or clean it up with all the tails until you have scissors, right? And then you get into some of these are, oh, this is the Two of Pentacles. So the Pentacles, they all have, you know, different symbolism. But if you see that the two halves, so the Two of Pentacles is typically about a guy juggling, you know, and it's like juggling your money or whatnot. But if I look at this card, it's two halves of the same person, right? So you've got the right and left, or left and right. And if you put them together, you've got a full butterfly, right? So I don't know if it speaks to duality. I might read this card with somebody who's struggling with mental illness, for instance. You know, you need to or balance out, you know, if you are quick to anger or judgment, or you're too emotional. You know, to me, it speaks more than the juggler. But anyway, very, you know, imagery. Let me look and see if there's another one that I think on this one there is. I think it's judgment I like. Oh, I love temperance, right? So temperance, again, it carries on with the theme of the Santa Muerte, but she still is in the water, and you know, she's holding her cup and everything. But oh, here's a good one, the Two of Cups. If you take a look at this and the symbolism here, as I try to get this to sit right there, we go. Look at their heads are open, and as he's in their eyes, the cavities, eye cavity is in the shape of a heart. So they only have eyes for each other. She's touching his heart from within his chest. So he's moved very deeply by her. But as you see, look at his head tilting towards her in a kind of a position of endearment. He's pouring his heart and soul into her, and she's loving it, right? Do you see the emotions flowing from him to her? To me, that's much more. And in the background is all of the strife and all of the things that may not bode well for their relationship over time, or in the past. They've overcome that, and they've come to this place where they truly are. To me, this is more about love and long-term relationship than the lovers ever will be. But look at that symbolism, right? So that is the Santa Muerte, the Tarot of the Illuminati. This deck is unbelievable. I just would have never bought it. I would have never bought it had I not seen a review on it by the Pomegranate Grove people. Those girls do a great job. Let's take a look at the Chariot. So in the Chariot, look at all that's going on there. You know, there's movement, there's force of nature. He is going into battle. He is all prepared. If I got this in a reading about, you know, my job or someone's career and the focus, to me, this is about moving forward, keeping it. And he's moving away from the city, right? It's going out into battle. Just a very active card, where in the standard Rider-Waite, it's not that active. You have again, two halves to think about. You know, you've got your bright and your dark self, right? Your bright self and your dark self, you know, things that you need to keep in check and you need to keep in balance. This is your mind and your soul and your spirit doing that about all factors. And let me see. Oh, the Prince of Cups, you know, the whole, normally the marriage proposal guy, right? Yeah, some people say. This guy, God, he reminds me of, what's his name? Lucius Malfoy with his white hair. But anyway, look at all of the pouring of emotions. It's like the bright white knight is coming to save the day, that horse and his flowing mane, standing there on the cliffs and whatnot. It just a beautiful, you know, he's got a chalice. To me, this is more about a peace offering, you know, making good on a promise that his kingdom made, keeping war out of there, you know, preserving a way of life, just different things that come to mind other than, you know, he is bringing a message and a peace offering. That's what I see with him. Anyway, there are many that are the same. If I take a look at this one, this is the Eight of Wands. No, that one doesn't really do. This is the 10 of Pentacles, and take a look at the depth of this. And what's interesting about this deck, this has almost a Chinese flair to it. You kind of look at like the Chinese lanterns up at the top, and just a very bright card. I mean, you can almost feel those lanterns glowing. I call them Friday night party lights, right? You know, and the grandfather is attending to his grandson while the mom and dad or the lovers in the background, you know, and their child on him right there. And it's just very, you know, it's a very family oriented. And then you obviously have the dogs in there, but it's just the symbolism. It's just, I don't know, lots of stuff going on there. I could probably sit here. I'd have to look at the card a little bit more. It's kind of hard to look at it in the monitor backwards, but I look at the 4 Pentacles. You know, this is all about holding onto your money, hoarding, being stingy, you know. Again, it's got a very Eastern feel to it, you know, almost like the pagodas of Japan and whatnot. And you almost take a look at the, you know, you know, he's outside of the city, but a rich opulence, and, you know, sitting on top of a roof somewhere. And anyway, so those are the decks that I've worked with over the last couple of years that have given me the most insight from their imagery whenever I read with this particular deck, the Tarot of the Illuminati. And I'm in a study group, and we'll do Mantiki. This is not on Mantiki, right? So we use the regular Rider-Waite. This gives me so much more insight, and we'll be talking about something, and it's just like something will stick out. And it's like, whoa, you don't see that in the Rider-Waite. So to me, the imagery is beautiful. All right, well, I'll not mess with that now. Okay, well, thank you again. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up, send me a comment, or write anything, you know, in the comments, and I'll be responding to them. Also, if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe, would love that. And if you are following along, it is hashtag 31 days of tarot. Check out what other readers are doing. I do every once in a while. I think it's fascinating, the approach to these challenges as well as the information. So again, thank you, and we will see you on day 19.